Every movie has random trivia. And here at Trivial Theater, I explore some of these movies and the random circumstances that make them the weird creations that we love. Whether it's a sentimental classic, a goofy comedy, or a blood-spluttered horror, most people have a definitive list of movies that make the holidays shine just a little brighter. And we're no different here. Matt, from Matt's Movie Madness, is good enough to join me in a countdown of our personal faves.
Hello there, Trivial Theater, and thank you for allowing me to join you today. I definitely appreciate being here. I love Christmas movies. I love a lot of them. Now, there is some of the good ones out there, like It's a Wonderful Life or Miracle on 34th Street. Ones that play constantly, like It's a Christmas Story. Ones that I happen to love and everybody loves. And ones that I happen to love that nobody loves. One of the movies that I'm telling you guys all about today is one that really doesn't get that much love, but it totally should. And that movie is Jingle All the Way. Jingle All the Way might not be everyone's cup of eggnog, but I happen to love it for a bunch of different reasons. I love watching Arnold play against type as a suburbanite dad instead of a last action hero.
Where's your Christmas spirit? That's better.
I love him being paired up against a disgruntled postman named Myron.
This man is totally insane.
Thank you! Played by Sinbad, and the two play very well off each other as they race against all the last-minute Christmas shoppers to buy that Turbo Man doll. Yeah! Cool! Along the way, they battle an army of Santa Clauses, or is that Santa Claus I? With Jim Belushi, WWE superstar Big Show, and Mini-Me being among them. Arnold also battles Simpsons actor Phil Hartman, who just wants to snatch one of his wife's cookies.
Oh, these cookies! I gotta get the recipe from Les. Put that cookie down! Now!
As well as a rebellious reindeer. And Myron even blows up an entire bomb squad, only to end this all with them battling each other, dressed as comic book characters in the middle of a Christmas Day parade. Did I mention that Arnold has a freaking functional jetpack and flies around the city like Iron Man? Because he totally does!
It's Turbo
How can you not love a movie that's as balls to the wall insane as this one?
So whether you know my content or not, you may not be aware of the role classic movies play for me. Before there was anything else, there was The Wizard of Oz and It's a Wonderful Life, which in turn started a love affair and a deep respect for those movies that form the foundations of what we know today. I stumbled upon It Happened on Fifth Avenue a few years back and was immediately taken by its charms. Now, it's easy to be cynical about some of the messages, and it is certainly a movie of its time. But like It's a Wonderful Life, and You Can't Take It With You, it's a movie that gives because it wants to. No strings attached. It has moments of sappiness, but it never feels like a sugar overload, and that's what I love about it. Even though you can see character tropes, these characters are played with a level of depth that you hope for in a good movie. It Happened on Fifth Avenue isn't the most well-known Christmas movie, but it stands as one of those films that strikes me just as hard. If not harder because it doesn't have the reputation garnered by the likes of Miracle on 34th Street or White Christmas. It's a generally sweet tale from a time when things weren't so good. It came out in 1947, only 2 years past World War II, and within current memory of the Great Depression. It addresses the same thoughts and issues of the era as It's a Wonderful Life. and was originally set to be directed by Frank Capra. We follow a homeless New Yorker and his adorable dog as they take over a vacated Fifth Avenue mansion of the world's second richest man for the holidays. When he's discovered, he pretends to be a guest of the wealthy owner and ends up inviting a variety of folks in a similar state to spend Christmas with him, including a displaced World War II vet, a young runaway who happens to be the owner's daughter, a set of displaced families, and a drifter who turns out to be the owner. The owner's heart is changed by the kindness he sees in this charming homeless man, and the end line of the movie stands as both proof of this change and an overall memorable line.
Remind me to nail up the board in the back fence. He's coming through the front door.
Like anything from Frank Capra or other similar directors of the time, it's hard to look at this movie and not see nostalgia. According to my research, it was even considered nostalgic at the time of its release, which for unknown reasons was Easter of 1947. In 1990, it disappeared from broadcast and retail availability. It finally made its way back to TCM in 2009 and became a Christmas staple on that network in 2014. If you have doubts about a movie like this because it was made so long ago, or for the simple fact that it's in black and white, I urge you to take a second look. It Happened on Fifth Avenue is a nostalgic trip back in time that I can't imagine not watching during the Christmas season. There's an authenticity that comes across with it. It's a charming little movie that deserves a watch.
There have been 18 bazillion different adaptations of the classic Charles Dickens novel, but there is only one Scrooged.
Hey, back off, big man. That may work with the chicks, but not with me.
It takes the story of a penny-pinching miser.
It's Christmas.
Thank you. Call accounting. Stop his bonus.
And modernizes it by having Scrooge become the boss of a television studio and having the ghosts lose their frickin' minds. We have Bill Murray as our Scrooged, and this is one of his best roles because he is a complete prixicle, and you know that Bill is loving every minute of it.
But the people already want to watch the show.
That isn't good enough! They have got to be so scared to miss it, so terrified!
Since this is modern day, we have the ghost of Christmas past, who is a cigar-smoking taxicab driver.
I know absolutely everything, Frank. You see, I'm the ghost.
Take him back to see how he royally screwed the pooch by effing everything up with hottie Karen Allen, aka Marion Ravenwood. We also have Carol Kane as my all-time favorite character, the ghost of Christmas Present.
What is it? I can't find the car. It's it.
The bitch hit me with a toaster.
Like in every version of the tale, he decides to change his ways after he finds out that nobody cares that he died.
You think I'm afraid of you? The day I've had? I know what you came for. Come and get it, you pussy.
Most of the fun takes place in the TV studio, where we get to see how much of an asshat Frank really is by telling a stagehand to staple antlers onto a mouse's head.
Have you tried Staples?
Or getting his comeuppance after firing Bobcat Goldthwait.
You glad to see me, or is this a shotgun in your pocket?
I also love the action-packed Christmas movie trailer, The Night the Reindeer Died.
See Santa's Workshop. Need this, and only Lee Majors can stop them. The night the reindeer died.
The words, "you can barely see them nipples," are also muttered on the set of A Christmas Carol. So you know that this is not your grandma's adaptation.
But this is a Christmas show.
Well, Charles Dickens would have wanted to see her nipples then.
It's wild, it's wacky, and it's downright crazy, but at the same time, it's kind of sweet and touching when we focus on Frank's assistant and her struggling family with her mute child, and how it asks you to please.
Have a Merry Christmas, everybody.
The Star Wars Holiday Special is one of those things that every Star Wars fan should probably see once, preferably with a couple of age-appropriate beverages. Everything about it makes you wonder, how did it get there? From its story to the way it held its place in pop culture, despite hopes it would be destroyed in a tragic lightsaber duel. Following the success of A New Hope, the decision was made to go with a broadcast holiday special. Now, at the time that was not terribly unique, but Star Wars was a whole other experience. The overarching story finds Han and Chewie trying to return to Kashyyyk, Chewie's homeworld, in time for Life Day, the Wookiee equivalent of Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or Festivus. Imperial entanglements inevitably hold them up. A good chunk of the story revolves around Chewie's family, including his kinda creepy grandpa. I'm not 100% sure, he might just be like a weird neighbor, but you can be sure that he is the most cringy figure in the Star Wars universe until Jar Jar made his debut. The main, quote, story is intertwined with a series of totally random and bizarre shorts featuring some major and some not so major stars at the time. Honestly, the whole thing feels like a bit of an acid trip, but not the good kind. Some of the featured acts include a musical break at the Mos Eisley Cantina, this provocative musical number that gets Grandpa just a little too hot and bothered for my taste, a Julia Child cooking parody that features a memorable set of lines,
beat, stir, whip, beat, stir.
And in an interestingly animated piece, generally considered to be the best of the special, provides us with our first look at Boba Fett. I feel like I need to manage expectations on this one. The level of production and story are slightly below that of The Mandalorian, so keep that in mind while watching. And honestly, I haven't heard a Harrison Ford read this inspired since the studio mandated narrative addition to the ending of the original Blade Runner.
Well, somebody must know something.
Oh, and Carrie Fisher also sings.
We celebrate a day of peace, a day of harmony.
All this in mind, you may be asking why this makes my list. Well, I've reviewed and watched a lot of movies that fall into this category, and like many of those, it's a thing that shouldn't necessarily exist. Like a lot of cult classics, there was a unique set of circumstances that allowed it to continue on, and for that point alone, I think it's actually pretty awesome. Like with Mystery Science Theater 3000, the passing of bootleg tapes was the thing that kept it most alive until it made its way to the internet. It only ever aired once in the States and Canada. And with the exception of Carrie Fisher, almost everyone associated with the holiday special refuses to discuss it. George Lucas famously tried and failed to buy up all the master copies to make sure it would never be broadcast again. He also is quoted as saying, "If I had the time and a sledgehammer, I would track down every bootleg copy of that program and smash it." The holiday special is such a bizarre mix of stories and styles, direction, all tied together by the loosest of plot threads. It makes me smile to know that a broadcast channel, at the height of broadcast, signed off on this. I would have loved to see the initial reactions to this whole experience. At its heart, I'm not sure it's the most well-intentioned holiday special, but like most things, it was more about generating enough hype to grow interest in the fledgling series. The one thing that the Star Wars holiday special proves is that you can see Christmas content as more than just traditional warm fuzzy movies. It can be a dramatic variety of things that can encompass this, Die Hard, and Santa's Sleigh.
I saved the best for last because it's time to gulp down some eggnog out of your Morty Moose glass as we take this holiday road down to my favorite Christmas movie of all time, Christmas Vacation. Christmas Vacation is the frantically festive film, which marks the third installment of the Vacation series, following the original 1983 movie and European Vacation. And this one happens to be my all-time favorite.
Isn't it a beaut, Audrey?
She'll see it later, honey. Her eyes are frozen.
The movie features the talented talents of Chevy Chase.
This bit nipply out. I mean nippy out. What did I say, nipple?
Beverly D'Angelo.
Stop it! I don't want to spend the holidays dead.
Juliette Lewis and Jim Parsons.
Bazinga, punk!
I totally mean Johnny Galecki. That's right, before he went on to acting in one of the most polarizing TV shows of all time, he was Little Russ Griswold in this movie. This movie continues the reoccurring theme of keeping Clark and Ellen the same, but switching out the actors who play the kids. We also have a whole bunch of other screwball actors and actresses playing the rest of the family. But by far the one that stands out the most from the crowd is Cousin Eddie, played by Randy Quaid.
Save the neck for me, Clark.
He was so successful in this movie that he went on to starring in the little talked about Christmas Vacation 2, Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure. There is so much to talk about in this movie, so let's get cracking. There are so many hilarious moments sprinkled in throughout this entire movie. We kick things off by having Clark and his family go and pick out the Griswold family Christmas tree. And they end up getting their family truckster stuck underneath a speeding semi-truck, only to free themselves and leap through the air, crashing through a sign into the parking lot. They didn't even pack an axe, and they have to freaking rip the whole tree up from out of the ground. We have one of the greatest light show displays of all time. One that would even make the Osborne family blush. We take part in many festive holiday traditions, such as racing down the hills in a super waxed up sled, checking out the panty line on sexy counter girls, catching crotchety old men on fire, blowing up little old kitty cats, chasing wild squirrels around your house, and even sitting down to a delicious dinner of turkey jerky. Many of the greatest jokes focus on Cousin Eddie and Clark's utter disgust for this redneck with his giant stinking RV clogging up his driveway. They butt heads throughout this entire movie, and it is great because Clark tries to act polite and Cousin Eddie is too thick-headed to tell that Clark can't stand him.
The silent majesty of a winter's morn, the clean, cool chill of the holiday air, and an asshole in his bathrobe emptying a chemical toilet into my sewer.
Shitter was full!
He helps to amp up the craziest balls ending where Cousin Eddie kidnaps Clark's boss from his mansion and drags him in front of Clark because he decided not to give out Christmas bonuses this year and instead only hands out a membership to the Jelly of the Month Club.
It's a 1-year membership in the Jelly of the Month Club.
Oh, God.
Clark, that's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
Only to have the entire police force burst through every single window of their house. This movie is the perfect Christmas comedy and really never gets old. To be completely honest, it's probably my favorite comedy film of all time, because I can get tired of hearing all the puns and dad jokes in the movie Airplane.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
But I'll never get tired of Clark going on his classic comedic tirade.
And I want to look him straight in the eye, and I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is. Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
Watch it yourself and have the
happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny fucking Kaye.
Now, I'm not traditionally a rom-com fan, but outside-the-box ones sometimes pique my interest. With that, we come to my third choice. I adore Love Actually. Yes, I said it, and I will continue to say it. Before the absolute avalanche of holiday-driven, multi-story movies, there was this. I know, it's custom built to pull at your heartstrings, get some laughs, and make you nostalgic, but I can't help it. For some reason, this one hits me where I live, and I can't help but smile and cry, sometimes at the same time, every time I see it. So the story is both incredibly complex and incredibly simple. Basically, it's the interwoven tale of 10 different scenarios that take place in London in the weeks leading up to Christmas. We go from a kid with a major crush, who just lost his mom, to the Prime Minister, who dances in a scene that, although a bit silly, never ceases to bring a smile to my face. On that subject, the soundtrack is another point of the movie that I love. Again, it was probably a right place, right time kind of thing, but it is one of those things that I can pop in any time and always enjoy. One of the biggest things for me is how in lesser hands, a movie like Love Actually would have been a mess. That many storylines, that many actors, takes the right kind of direction, and I feel that Richard Curtis did a really good job, but the actors tasked with each role do pretty solid work pulling off their characters as well. And man, do we have some great ones. Emma Thompson, Hugh Grant, a very young-looking Andrew Lincoln, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Bill Nye, and the amazing Alan Rickman. To call this an all-star cast is an understatement, but more than the names of the performances. I've cried more than once to Emma Thompson trying to pull herself together when she gets confirmation that her husband is cheating, and continually laugh my ass off as Hugh Grant knocks on every single door of an incredibly long line of row houses, trying to find the woman that he loves, only to attempt to explain his feelings to her while sitting next to a papier-mâché octopus. Rowan Atkinson continues to be my favorite part of this movie. How can you not smile from the moment he graces us with his presence? The contrast of his scene is awesome, and the look on his face when the situation resolves itself is one of the most striking. It does speak to truths that we all face. Love can hit you squarely in the face when you least expect it. It can be incredibly bittersweet. There are all kinds of love, some that work out, some that don't. Some that are appropriate, and some that aren't. Some that are unrequited. Some have been there for years, but you don't see them. And sometimes it happens while being stand-ins for a movie sex scene. This isn't a perfect movie by any stretch. Any other time of year, I'd probably say no thanks. But Christmas and this series of stories really talks to me. The fact that they spent a week filming real people at Heathrow, seeking permission of course, stands as one of those kind of neat little details. I actually got the chance to see this right before I left the UK, and it was one of the things I used as a touchstone to help me feel better when I missed it. The sights and sounds stick with me, and if I feel like I need a boost, it's a way to re-immerse myself in the good memories I had there. Love Actually is sappy, unrealistic, and at times straight up goofy, but I kinda love it. Special thanks to Matt for sharing his watch list. Check out Matt's Movie Madness for great reviews, trailer reactions, and an ever-growing array of movie content. You'll find a link to his channel in the description below. So what do you think? Suggestions for movies, trivial questions, comments, ratings, and a good recipe for figgy pudding would be appreciated. Thank you so very much for watching.